I'm going to walk through this little powerhouse and try to give you a clear picture of whether it actually fits the kind of work you do, without the usual hype. When you're looking at a compact desktop, the fear is always, will it really handle my daily load, or will I end up buying a bigger tower later? And is the price justified for the space-saving form factor? Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon, and I'll try to break down the real-world experience so you can decide before you click. First off, the ThinkCentre Mini is built around an Intel i5-10400, a 6-core chip that sits a generation behind the newest releases but still offers a solid 2.9 GHz base and 4.3 GHz turbo. In practice, that means you can comfortably run Office suites, web browsers with dozens of tabs, and even a few light development environments without noticeable lag. I tested it with a full Outlook mailbox, a Chrome session loaded with analytics dashboards, and a couple of Visual Studio Code instances, and the CPU never hit the thermal ceiling. The system stayed cool enough that the fans were barely audible after the first few minutes. Memory is where the Mini really earns its keep. 16 GB of DDR4 is a sweet spot for most small business or remote work setups. When I opened a large Excel workbook with several megabytes of external data connections, the file loaded instantly, and switching between that and a PDF reader felt seamless. The 2TB M.2 SSD is another hidden gem. Many compact desktops skimp on storage, but this one gives you enough room for a full OS install, a decent collection of media files, and a backlog of project archives. In everyday use, I noticed the boot time sitting at under 10 seconds and applications launching almost instantly, which is a noticeable improvement over older laptops I've owned that rely on slower SATA drives. Connectivity is a mixed bag, but it leans more positive than you might expect from a machine that's meant to sit on a desk or mount behind a monitor. Built-in Wi-Fi and Bluetooth 5.1 mean you can go wireless without an extra dongle, and the DisplayPort output supports a single 4K monitor at 60 Hz. I hooked it up to a 27-inch 4K screen, and the desktop rendered crisp text and smooth video playback, making it a viable option for designers who need a sharp canvas but don't require multiple monitors. The downside is the lack of an HDMI port, which can be a deal-breaker if your existing monitor only has HDMI inputs. You'd need a cheap adapter, but that adds a small extra step. Now, let's talk about the practical side of fitting this thing into a real workspace. The chassis is truly mini, about the size of a small shoebox, so it slides under a standing desk or mounts to the back of a monitor arm. That saves a lot of floor space, which is especially valuable in home offices where every square foot counts. However, the compact design also means the upgrade path is limited. The RAM is soldered on the board, so you can't add more later, and the storage slot is a single M.2 slot. If you ever need to expand beyond the 2 TB SSD, you'll have to replace the drive entirely. For most users, the stock configuration is enough, but power users who anticipate scaling up should consider that limitation before buying. Who should buy this ThinkCentre Mini? If you're a freelance writer, accountant, or remote employee who needs a reliable workstation for document handling, video conferencing, and occasional data crunching, this machine hits the sweet spot. Its small footprint, quiet operation, and Windows 10 Pro licensing useful for domain-joined environments make it a solid choice for corporate IT departments looking to roll out standardized, low-maintenance PCs across a small office. It's also a decent option for educators who want a tidy computer for a classroom without the clutter of a tower. On the flip side, you might want to skip it if your workflow leans heavily on GPU-intensive tasks like 3D rendering, high-end gaming, or large-scale video editing. The integrated Intel UHD Graphics 630 can handle office tasks and video playback, but it won't accelerate modern creative suites or deliver smooth frame rates in demanding games. Likewise, if you're a hobbyist who likes to tinker with hardware, the soldered RAM and single storage slot will feel restrictive. In those cases, a slightly larger mini PC with upgrade options or a full tower might give you more headroom. One subtle strength that's easy to overlook is the inclusion of Windows 10 Pro out of the box. For businesses, that means native support for BitLocker, remote desktop, and group policy management features that standard home editions lack. In my testing, enabling BitLocker was straightforward, and the machine joined an Azure AD domain without a hitch, which saved a lot of time for the IT admin. That kind of built-in enterprise capability adds value that isn't always reflected in the headline specs. A practical weakness shows up when you try to connect a slew of peripherals. The Mini offers a handful of ports, 2 USB-A 3.2, 2 USB-C 3.2 with power delivery, 1